Tim Garrity here with another edition of Growth and Balance. We do growth and balance for one reason and one reason alone: to create value for the agents we know. Today we're going to talk about what are you doing with your buyer clients? So if you're listening to this is in the May 2023 timeframe where, depending on your market, whether you're in the suburbs or in the city, you're having two very different buyer client experiences. On one hand, in the city of Philadelphia to be specific, it's different. Some neighborhoods, it's still a little tight with inventory, and therefore you might have some competition to buy homes. But in most areas of the city of Philadelphia right now, it's easier for buyer clients to purchase homes because there's not as much competition. And therefore, they can go out and look at a few different homes, figure out which one they like the best, take their time with an offer, have inspection contingencies, mortgage contingencies. All the things that a buyer should get when buying a home that in some markets have gone away. But then if you look on the other hand, in inner suburban markets in and around the city of Philadelphia, it's a completely different story. In most of them, the inventory is super tight right now. So what that means is basically our buyer clients are competing for every property that they want to see. There's still offer deadlines, there's still price escalation addendums, there's still waiving of contingencies, mortgage, due diligence inspections. So again, depending on what market you're in, it's different for buyer clients. But today what I want to do is I want to go over 3 different things I want you to consider when working with buyer clients today. Number 1, seller assist. It's a pretty simple one. We all know how this works. But instead of always looking for some kind of opportunity with either the price or the timing or such, seller assist is a really smart one to be looking at right now, more or less for the interest rates. Meaning, if you're in the city of Philadelphia right now and you're trying to buy a home and there is no competition, you might go a little bit under the asking price, maybe $5K, $15K, it just depends. But instead of asking for a price reduction, you should consider asking for just seller's assist. Because with seller's assist, 1, it's going to make it easier for the amount of money you have to bring to closing for your buyer client. They'll bring less. And 2, what you can do is you can consider my second thing you should be considering. The second thing I think you should be looking at with buyer clients are buydowns. So what's a buydown? Well, there's 2 types. 1, you have a temporary buydown, which is really how it sounds. The rate is typically about 2% lower in year 1, 1% lower in year 2, and then years 3 through 30, the rate is whatever you locked it in at the day of the actual rate lock. Temporary buydowns are pretty easy too, because based on the amount of money that your client is saving in those 2 years, that's usually what it costs. So it's easy to calculate. The second type of buydown I think most people should be considering right now, which I think is good, is a permanent buydown. Now, a permanent buydown, sometimes people refer to as discount points. Now, some may say, hey, well, what if I do a permanent buydown and the interest rates go down 1%, in the next, year or 2 years? Well, maybe they would consider refinancing then if it's really that much of a difference. But what I will say about a permanent buydown is that as of today, you can control the interest rate better. So if the interest rate today, for example, is 6.5% on a 30-year fixed, maybe if you bought 2 discount points, you might get into the 5s. Maybe if you bought 3 or 4 discount points, believe it or not, you might get into like the mid-5s. So now we're talking some pretty great rates. But try and think of a permanent buydown as a solution today to help your buyer with their mortgage payment. And if the difference in rate is 0.5% or a full percent below the current market rate, their monthly payment is going to be that much more affordable from now and through year 30. Number 3, what am I doing? So what am I doing with my buyer clients right now? Well, to be quite honest, one of the number 1 things I'm doing is really a permanent buydown through seller's assist. A permanent buydown is going to make sure that you get into a home for the rate you want today. If the rates stay high for a while, or if they never come back down, they most likely will, but what if they didn't? Then we know your buyer's getting a better rate and a rate that works for their budget. Another thing I'm doing with buyer clients right now are ARMs. ARM stands for adjustable rate mortgage. So there's a 10-year ARM, a 7-year ARM, a 5-year ARM. And what that first number means is basically that's how long your rate is fixed for. So it's still a 30-year amortized loan, but your rate will be fixed for 5 years, for 10 years, for 7 years, for 5 years. So that's how ARMs work. You're fixing your rate for a period of time, and then after that, there is an adjustment. Now, I don't need to get into all the specifics, but again, ARMs are pretty competitive right now. And most mortgages, only last 4 or 5 years even after you buy a home, because the market changes and people refinance or they cash out or maybe they sell or they rent it. So if the life of a loan is only 4 or 5 years, then doing a 7 or a 10-year ARM, you're actually giving your client more time with their fixed rate than they normally would based on the industry average. And then, to be quite honest, the last thing I'm doing with buyer clients to make sure that it goes as smoothly as possible is I ask questions like, what's the biggest difference to you? Does price make you feel good about going to sleep at night? Is it better for the seller to put on a new roof? Is the interest rate driving you up a wall and you really don't even want to buy because of rates of where they are? Because at the end of the day, every single buyer client is different. And while we look at things our own way based on our own experiences or our own personalities, hey, it makes way more sense to do a permanent buy down. Someone may say, I'm okay with the interest rate. I'll see what the market does. And if it goes down, I'll refinance then. What I really want is like a new roof, or I want a finished basement, or I want an updated kitchen. So how can we do things like that? And that's where Seller's Assist can come in. So just keep in mind that in today's current buyer market, it's tricky. And there's a few different things that you can do. Pull them out of your toolkit in order to make the process a better experience for your buyer clients. That's all I have for this one. Take care.